And we're back on Second Street talking about the election and issues that will shape it over the next several weeks. Um, Derek, I want to ask you, we just talked about the Trump factor. Obviously, it's going to be, I think, a big issue, just sort of Canadians' views as to who best can handle those relations between our country and our neighbors to the south. But another issue that has been huge for the past couple of years, of course, has been this issue of affordability. Canadians are hurting. Food banks across the country are seeing lineups like they've never seen before. It seems like it would be hard for Canadians to suddenly forget that, all in favor of sort of this Canada-US battle. What's your sense on the affordability issue? Do you think that that will be able to sort of rival this Trump issue in the election?
I think it's going to be the second issue, and it's a big second issue. The Conservatives want to have an affordability election. The Liberals want to have a Trump trade war election. Shaping the ballot question is one of the most important parts of any campaign strategy. If the ballot question, the main ballot question right now is Trump, and it's likely to stay the main ballot question. If nothing else, he's just so colorful and can't seem to shut his mouth for long enough to let us just have an election on our own first. But affordability is not going away. Nothing is getting more affordable in the next 5 weeks of this campaign. That's, the bigger that is as a secondary issue, I'd put it this way. If the Conservatives can neutralize the Liberal advantage on the Trump question, then they're going to win because they have such a dominating presence and lead on the affordability question. If the Liberals can neutralize the Conservative advantage on affordability, they will win. I can't imagine that the Liberals can neutralize their advantage. They've tried things like putting off the increase in the capital gains tax, getting rid of a portion of the carbon tax, the consumer portion of it. They're trying to blunt the Conservative advantage there. I don't think they're going to be able to. But yeah, if the Conservatives can simply neutralize the Liberal advantage on the Trump issue, I think they're going to win on affordability.
Jerry, what's your sense? You're in Toronto there. That's where a lot of the seats are at play in this election. I mean, the first couple days of the election has been, the Mark Carney on day one coming out with a tax cut announcement, Pierre Poilievre day two. Do you think that affordability is going to be issue number two, or is there maybe something else?
Well, I'm agreeing with what Derek is saying here. I think Trump is the number one issue, and the Liberals probably would be wise to try and keep that the issue as they go along, because affordability is absolutely in the lap of the Trudeau Liberals in the last almost decade and the mistakes that they've made. And I find it amusing that Mark Carney and the Liberals' big argument was that Pierre Poilievre doesn't have any plans, like they can't go on Google and look up everything that Pierre Poilievre has recommended and that he believes. There's an actual platform on the Conservative webpage, but that was their thing. And amazingly, after telling us so emphatically that Pierre Poilievre doesn't have any plans, he doesn't have any policies, Mark Carney has pretty much announced everything that Pierre Poilievre has talked about for the last 18 months. Let's cut back on inflation, or immigration rather, because that's what's impacting housing so heavily, especially here in the GTA where we are and around parts of the country. Oh, we got to get rid of interprovincial trade barriers. We've got to get rid of the carbon tax. Everything that Carney has announced has been a Pierre Poilievre policy. So they got to keep their foot on the gas regarding Trump so Canadians don't catch on in the next 35 days what's actually happening here.
Derek, we've got a little bit over a minute left, but let's say Mark Carney or Pierre Poilievre picks up the phone and says, Derek, I need some advice. What do I need to do on affordability? What would be your recommendation to him in terms of maybe some changes that would really be welcomed by Canadians?
Affordability shouldn't be just packaged off on its own as a purely kind of inflationary issue. Also, we don't really use the word inflation correctly in Canada. When we talk about these things, we're actually really talking about affordability is more of consumer price index is what we're talking about. We haven't really been talking about real inflation, monetary policy. Now, the previous Liberal Prime Minister says he doesn't spend all day thinking about monetary policy. I would chance to guess that Mark Carney, who's been the governor of the Bank of England and of Canada, does think about monetary policy. Less money printing, virtual money printing from the central bank would go a long ways, but then you're going to have reverberations through the housing market, affordability with more expensive mortgages. Then there's campaigns. We always pretend the promises, it's all good. We never talk about the negative. There's going to be big trade-offs here. I want to talk about monetary policy. I want to have a monetary policy election, and I can't believe it. We actually might, at least in some small way, get one that nerdy.
We might just get there. We'll be back with more in just a moment.